What's up, everyone? Again, hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining me. Got my coffee with me here. It's actually a little cooler today, so I don't need to wait as long. But we'll get rolling here. I might have cheated and had a cup before this, but I got my oatmeal here as that cools off. And this is episode six now, I think. I hope you guys are enjoying these. I appreciate y'all for tuning in, and you get to listen to me ramble on about some random thoughts I'm having about strength conditioning, human performance, health, wellness, and whatever else. Yesterday, I was listening to a podcast with Dr. Hatfield, Dr. Squat. So if you guys don't know him, check out Fred Hatfield, one of the world's most famous squatters, one of the major proponents, not actually the inventor, as I heard from the discussion, but a major promoter and popularizer, if that's even a word, I don't know, of the safety bar and what we call Hatfield Squats, where we do a squat with the bar on your back and your hands out in front and you support yourself through it. Now, I'll talk about that actual exercise and why I love it so much in another video. I actually might cheat and do two today. So if you see one, a bonus one, that's why. But I want to talk about something else he had talked about in there. Well, he just got me turning and thinking about, and it was the idea of what's the point of lifting weights? And not just in terms of, lifting weights makes us more athletic or stronger, but what does lifting weights actually do from a principle standpoint? And I thought it was an interesting philosophical question, because there's nothing like innately special about a weight. A weight doesn't make your muscles grow, but what a weight does to your body makes your muscles grow. And that's a very important distinction, because if we can elicit that same response that a weight forces our body to do with other means and apparatuses, well, then that would be a useful tool for developing our strength and performance as well. So let's think about it like this. When we lift, let's say 300 pounds on a bench press, we have 300 pounds of force acting on us. It's not the force acting on us that creates muscle growth. It's us producing that 300 pounds of force to hold the weight, or maybe more than 300 to lift it, that creates change. If force is just acting upon us, the weight itself was somehow the magical stimuli, then I guess hitting ourselves with a baseball bat would be a useful means of developing strength, because that's a force acting upon us. No, it's us creating the force to resist that weight. So when we think about it, when it comes to training's about us, our human body, producing forces. And in weightlifting, we like to use, weights, because at a minimum, we're able to measure the minimum amount of force we were producing. That is the weight itself. If I put 100 pounds on the bar, I know at a minimum I have to at least produce 100 pounds to hold the bar, if not more to lift it. So it's a very interesting concept, because now when you look at why we lift weights to produce muscular tension. The weight itself doesn't produce muscular tension. It's just a means in which it helps our body strain against something. So when we think about that, and we think about the fact that A, weights themselves don't really have any innate special thing about them, and B, it's not the weights that matter, it's us that matters, we can think about other training means and different types of training means that help us produce force. Now, I'll actually tie this in, because I lied at the beginning. I said I'm going to make a second video on the Hatfield Squat, but I'll actually tie it into the Hatfield Squat now. So a Hatfield Squat is where you have the bar on your back, like a safety bar, and you're doing a hand-supported movement, and you're lifting it, and you have your hands there so you're nice and tall and upright. Now, the reason why this movement is so interesting to me after hearing this discussion is that if you think about movement as being something important to us being able to produce force, not necessarily the weight on the bar, then what we can think about in a Hatfield Squat is we have our hands assisting ourselves, which is nice because it does a couple of things. It makes the movement safe, it makes it stable. And as Dr. Hatfield said in his discussion, weightlifting is about producing maximal force output, maximal neurological output in the most safe environment. So we have a nice safe environment with a Hatfield Squat. We're nice and upright. We offload the low back a little bit because the center of mass is upright. Our hands are in front of us. We have supports, we have safety catches, and we got a safety yoke bar on us, so we're not having to put pressure in a single position like on your C-spine with the bar. Now we're able to focus on our legs, producing the most amount of force possible. So we can load up with a good amount of weight, the weight not being the most important thing, right? It's not about the weight. The weight is just a means for us to express force against it. But then we can use a safety bar where we have our hands assisted on it, so we can apply as much force as possible, whether it's fast velocity or whether it's slow velocity against a heavy weight. And in turn, we're able to assist ourselves where needed, if we need to get more upright in a better position. The point is, if we understand that movement and training is about us producing force, and it's not about the weight itself, the better we can understand how we can manipulate exercises to help us, our body, produce force. No longer does that weight seem all that important, or even that exercise, right, seem all that important. No longer does an RDL really matter that much as it does to find an exercise that helps you produce force in a lengthened position with your foot on the ground. So instead of doing a single leg RDL that might be unstable, maybe you'll do a hand assisted or supported single leg RDL. Again, just an interesting discussion, more of a philosophical, not even a philosophical, kind of philosophical, because when you think about it, you're like, well, why do I care so much about weights in the first place if they actually don't do that much? But also a principles-based discussion as to what's actually eliciting the specific response in the body that creates change. And again, it's not the weight acting on our body, it's us acting on the weight. And so we can lift a weight fast, we can lift a weight slow, but how we lift it fast or slow is changing. It's affected by how our body produces force. Right? If I have 100 pounds on the bar and I just press it up really fast, well, I'm producing more force than 100 pounds. But if I lift it really slow, maybe I'm only producing something near 100 pounds. So again, how we move matters more necessarily than the weight on the bar. We just use the weight on the bar as a minimal constrained factor to have a minimum baseline of knowing how much force we're producing. So force is the thing that matters, and how our body has neurological output. With force output, we can look at exercises like the Hatfield Squat, and I'll talk about that in another video, why I love it so much, but I kind of alluded to it here, that it gives us in a great position, stability. It gets in a nice, allows us to have some assistance in case we do need assistance, because training is about training. Training is about producing force. Training isn't about trying to compete and showcase your best effort in a competition movement or in a competition setting where you're being judged on some level of skill. Training is about building up and developing qualities. So again, if we go back to that original discussion point, what's the point of lifting weights and why are weights important? Weights aren't important. It's what weights force our body to do, our body's response. If we can find ways to manipulate that same response through different means, maybe we found a better method or an alternative method than just lifting weights, right? So if we think about it that way, I'm kind of rambling now. I should have had more coffee before doing this. It's kind of an interesting discussion. Point is, I hope you guys enjoy. I appreciate y'all listening. Go and drink some coffee for me. I'll finish my cup here. I got a little, I think it's a medium dark roast today. Some whole milk coffee in there and some oatmeal. So whole milk coffee, whole milk in my coffee. That's my creamer. I don't use creamer. I like whole milk. Sometimes put a little ginger in it. Sometimes I put a little cinnamon in it. Point is, I hope you guys enjoy. I appreciate you listening. As always, take care. And if you guys like these videos, subscribe, like, follow, comment, do whatever the YouTube thing is. I appreciate y'all. Take care.